We're going to continue on with that shir. And we're going to go down here to number Daled. We're on page Kuf Tzadi Daled for those who missed it. And we're going to continue on here with some deep stuff. In my mind, it's trying to think, what is Rebbe Shimon doing here? It's just so deep. How is it the connection between these particular words, which in Pashtus just talks about the growing of life, but he says that in Sod, it's also talking about the creation of everything, all processes of creation. That's the way I see it. Anyway, let's look down here. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. He said, we're going to look at number Daled, and he said, Vihine. So I've got to turn the page here. These are printouts, not books. So he says, Vihine, Be'ese Iver during gestation, Sharanuk V'chim al Zer Anpin, she's up above Zer Anpin. So, as we said before, Azai ein zivug l'Zer Anpin v'nuk. No possibility. Mishum the nukva ola v'nechlalas b'soch bina, because the nukva goes up, which becomes incorporated inside of bina. Now that really takes some explanation. He says this is the combination. I said, because I've been studying over here to try to say some shiurim on Yaakov Cronenberg, and he's talking about the different permutations of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei that have to do with the cycle of the different signs. Different times of the year. The time of Cancer is a time when you have two K's together. Now, I don't know which K is which. It's a lot of, in other words, you're talking about first is come Bina, then comes the Nukva, or first comes the Nukva, then comes to the Bina. I don't know, he's talking about that. I'm trying to understand it. So here we have the similar combination, that in gestation, you're combining the letters of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. In this particular case, the letter K, you're making combinations out of it. You're able to twist it and move it around, not twist it, but cut it up and move it into two parts. Mishum the nukva of olav v'nechlal b'soch bina. That's the part I'm trying to understand. We'll try to get more on that. O gedugma b'chazos hu b'yom kippurim. He says, I want to tell you something. I just mentioned cancer, which is Tammuz. He says like this. He says, v'chazos hu b'yom kippurim. Hanukva older the bechinas bina, so it has to do with that. Ve'ein zivug l'zer anpin v'nuk. There is no yichud takes place between Zohar and Nuk on Yom Kippurim. Hainde derchser v'zecher shekosem v'posiv anisem as nafshosechem b'tisha d'chodesh be'erev, meaning Yom Kippur, starting then. Pirush b'Yom Kippurim shuhu b'tisha d'chodesh tishrei be'erev. It means the nighttime after the ninth, the beginning of the 10th. As I answer b'tash b'semeta, because no yichud would take place. He's a different rush than the Yaakov Cronenberg one. So here Gam came Lamalo and a Zivug Bezer V'Nuk. So therefore, also up above, you're not going to have a yichud between Zohar and Nuk. Mishum, why? Mishum should be Yom Kippurim Orva Nukva the Bina. That's when you see that the Nukva is going to go to Bina. Vazah ein Zivug Lamala Ko'omor. So there will not be that. Now the Nukva. Now, just reflecting for myself, is that we're saying that on Yom Kippur is what's happening is that the Nukva, which is us, and all of the things that we're missing and have done wrong. V'zos yavu aron ala kodesh. Zos is all of our mess, the Jewish people's mess. And we are still alive, and we're still clinging to God as best we possibly can. So the thing is, it's like this, is that on Yom Kippur, all of that goes up to the world beyond, and it stations itself in that place. And of course, this happened maybe perhaps, and we're going to see this in other places, and maybe it's happening all the time, everywhere, anyway. But there is a special Mesugal time when everything is really ultimately, as we learned from the previous chapter, ultimately very connected. Let's go on, I'm sorry. Behind Zim at that time, shall Iver Zer V'Nuk B'Me'im at that time. Nemra positive Adni, and then it says Havaya, but it's Menukad like Adni. And so this would be O Na E. That's what the vocalization is. The first one is. The second one is is like Elokim. That's E-O-E. Ata hachilosa, you begin laharos as amdikoch as godlocho. Now, what's he talking about over here? So he said, the Berusha the Vira Besod, who's like this. The Shem Adni, the way I'm pronouncing it now, who's so the Malchus, as we know. The Shem Havaya Benika de Lokem, well, it's Sod Bina, not the Sod of Zeranpin, which is normal with it. Because that's a rule that I need to know. When you change the spelling, which happens a lot, which we pronounce Hashem, Shem Elokim, something like that, how we pronounce it, but he means to say that this is actually talking about Bina. So he said, with all of these keywords, let us see how it goes. He said, V'shem Havaya B'nikud Elokim, who's so Bina. V'hatziruf, V'shnei Shem Huz Chalalo, Shal Malchus Bina Yachad. That's what that whole thing means. So, Bina, acting as Elokim, is menukad as Havaya, which is a mashpia. A lot to think about there. Romans alaliyas amalchul b'soch Bina. This is talking about that b'so the ibur. V'zecher she'amar b'pasuk achach ata achilosa. Ki hine achilosa hu lashon haschala. It means to begin. That's where things start. So what's he trying to tell me? At the very beginning, remember we had the letter Hey, and we start dividing it up. She was the gestation, just read the words. She was the aspect of Ivor inside of Bina. Nikras Havaya, which Bina in this case is called Havaya Benikud Elokem. So Havaya is Lashon Mashpia. If you, that's what I think. I think Havaya is Lashon Mashpia. When you menacate it like Elokem, then Elokim is associated with Bina, and that's giving direct. I think it means like this: as Havaya goes to Adni, as Mashpia to Adni. That's Bina being Mashpia to the Nekeva first. That's the first part where she starts for Oz. And therefore she feeds first, or gets the chef first. Comes to her. That du partsufim can now, as we mentioned, the two partsufim that are in there, but it's the dollar that's the dominant at this part. And he says furthermore like this, that Hashem is complete in, now what does Sitroi mean? Kibakal Malcolm, so he wants to maybe translate Sitro as Mako, in all its place. So Kibakal Malcolm Shenizker Shem Havaya Balvad. Whenever anytime you see it, just the name of Havaya by itself, Azai Romas the Zer Anpin, it always, he's going back over some ground I kind of went through real quickly. He said, then Havaya normally refers to Zer Anpin. Maybe he's going to explain this all out to me, because that's when Zer Anpin is balanced the way that it's supposed to be. The all Zer Anpin konu the Nukva. So there she becomes his other half. For Osias Yaku, that those letters, Yud, K, and Vav, Shel Shem Havaya, the first three letters, right? Those first three letters in the gematria of 21 of the Shem Havaya, Romazin the Zer Anpin, the first part is all the Shefa part, one to the next. It's the Yud to the K to the K to the Vav. It's like a football play. And then it comes down to Lahavdil. So B'Shem Knavaya, Romazin, the Zer Anpin, is really always referring to Zer Anpin. Those are the third three parts, the givers. Those Hey, on the other hand, Achron and Romans, the Nukva, Homeda, Betzera, Bezer Anpin, she's a backseat driver. She's always there. And understand something. If we talk about the male energy, it is never complete without her. Read again. In our case, where we have a bechinas ivor, you're gestating, they're just in gestation. He says they're anpin v'nukvur chashim, so they are. Let's see, I think they're floating. Let's say v'chodim, or they're inside of Bina on Nikvitz Eretz Elyon, who's called the upper world. Besod Ted Sheha Aretz Desha. So she needs to reproduce. She needs to get them out. Lo shlim, but in that case they're not shlim. Ozer v'nukve. I think I'm lost here. I'm sorry. Oz zer anpin adayim enush b'shlemos kizer v'nuk choy ychodayim dakin kekarnich agavim. As we know, besod du partsufin canal. Now, am I still with it? So he said, "V'oz gam ein zivug bezer anpin v'nuk ka'omor." There can't be any yichud there. So yehi lo kasiv, and we go back over this line again. It's not written yehi, which means it's actually produced. Say, for example, that's something that actually happens. So is it happening? But it doesn't say yehi. It just says about the name of the plant which produces seeds. In other words, it's all there in potential, but it can't do anything because the order of how things have to take place is messed up. Ki milas yehi romas loholedezer v'nuk, in that order. V'yotziu v'yotziaso, and they're actually going out l'chutz. Ki shlosh osias shal yehi heim abba v'imba b'sod yak. Now get this again. The first two letters is abba to ima, which is a concept of the name yak. V'zer anpin b'sod yud, and zer anpin is the other male aspect that comes in the yud. So you have male, female, male behind us. So now you're sitting there, all the potential is in the male. This is the concept of here of how creation has to take place. Everything is concentrated in the male. Behind it, the Abba ve'iba shehem yudin ke molidim as their anpin shehu gam kain besod os yud, who is also secret of this os yud. The fichoch atach b'shas se'iver, because now we see at the time of Iver shechadayim no nolad ben izgalazer benuk, they're still not born out. You won't see the word yehi. Once again, Gematria 25 with the kolol is 26. Not sure how that would work, but at any rate, haromas the loholedis v'yitzia l'chutz v'amarak esav mazria zera, and it only says that idea that's what they are. There's a potential. Esav mazria zera means that they're there. They're in potential. Well, that's what I think. Anyway, I think, did I get to the end? Yeah, I got to the end. Okay, that's the shear here.